Good morning, and thank you very much, Tim. If we could start the slide presentation. Next slide, please. And that's the disclaimer. Right, firstly, just a brief look at the battery materials thematic, which is really underpinning global commodity prices, exploration activity, and ultimately mineral discovery. Look, the chart on the left is showing what total battery material demand looks like between now and 2030. And although the absolute numbers are interesting, take note of the size of the bar in 2030 compared to 2021. It's about sort of 4 to 5 times that. And this is what the predicted growth in battery materials demand will be. And it's all driven by, on the right, energy storage installations. And this is all about the decarbonisation of the global economy. Next slide, please. Some familiar faces here, Jeff Bezos and Bill Gates, Elon Musk. And what's interesting is that Bezos and Gates, it was revealed in September this year that they had invested in the global search for battery materials by taking a shareholding in Cobalt Metals. And this really supports the whole investment thesis and the opportunity for investors. The comment below is interesting also from Mr. Musk back 12 months ago, where he implored all of us miners or explorers to produce more nickel. If it was only that easy, the deposits have to be discovered and developed first. Next slide, please. And that's what we're doing at Dundas Minerals. What we've managed to do at Dundas is secure a very large tenement position in the world-class Albany Fraser origin, just north of the coastal city of Esperance here in Western Australia. For those that are not familiar with the origin, it's home to two of the great recent mineral discoveries here in Western Australia, the Tropicana gold deposit back in 1995, and more recently the Nova nickel deposit back in 2012 by Sirius Resources and now managed by IGO. Look, it's a very sought after area, as you can see by all the white shapes. It's fairly heavily pegged. But it remains highly prospective for repeats of sort of Nova and Tropicana style deposits. Next slide. And just zooming in on the next slide to our tenement position, you can see we're about previous slide, please. Yep. We're about 120 kilometres south of Nova and about the same distance away from Esperance. We have 12 contiguous exploration license, a very large 1,200 kilometre tenement position. And what the opportunity is for us and our shareholders is that all of the ground that we hold has not been explored since before the time of the Nova discovery, so before 2012. And when it was being explored back then, predominantly the exploration was gold focused or exclusively gold focused. Nova and the recent Julimar deposit, and I hope some of the viewers today had shares in Chalice, those deposits are hosted in mafic, ultramafic rocks, and our tenement package has never been explored for these type of rocks, and herein lies a tremendous opportunity. Next slide. The next slide is a gravity image. Our tenements are outlined in the white. The shaded tenements are of our neighbours. What's quite interesting is that Rio Tinto has a very large tenement position immediately to our west. To our east is Metal Hawk and Western Areas, which is a known established nickel producer. Mount Ridley mines to our south. Now, our tenement position, very typical of the Albany Fraser. It's covered by sort of 5 to 30 metres of regolith or sand and calcrete. And in our area, there's been no deep drilling. The drilling's only been down to 20 to 30 metres, 1 or 2 holes around 60 metres. So there is considerable uncertainty as to what the underlying bedrock consists of. It's just been interpreted by using geophysical data to date. Next slide. So the prior exploration, as I said, was gold focused. It used this calcrete sampling exploration model, which proved completely ineffective in our area and is in fact very ineffective throughout the Albany Fraser. So this is a model that we will definitely not be following. We'll be doing something completely different to hone in on the type of ultramafic rocks that we're looking for. Next slide. And just going through and having a look at, if we're looking for another Nova, we're looking for a Julimar, what do we have to look for? Well, as I said, mafic, ultramafic rocks. Now, these rocks are dense. So in terms of geophysical surveys, we're looking for gravity anomalies, areas of density. We're also looking for conductivity. Massive sulfides present hosting in both Nova and Julimar. So we're looking for conductivity anomalies and magnetic. Julimar has a very strong magnetic signature. Nova has a magnetic signature as well. So these are the type of attributes we'll be looking for in terms of when we're doing our geophysical surveys across our tenements. So next slide, please. Just a quick look at Nova Bollinger for those who haven't seen the section before. It sits around 160 metres below the surface, and it has a magnetic signature, was known as the Eye previously before it was renamed Nova. So next slide, please. And we look at Julimar. Julimar's a bit shallower. It sits around 45 metres below surface, but as I said, a very, very strong magnetic signature. And as mentioned before, this has been a magnificent discovery for Chalice, and how we would love to find a similar deposit to Julimar and Nova within our tenements, and that is certainly what we are looking for. Next slide. Now, just getting back to the geophysics, so the image on the left, or the cartoon on the left, just illustrates the type of coincidental anomalies we're looking for to try and hone in on an ore body similar to Nova or to Julimar. So in the pink, we have a magnetic, on the image on the left, in the pink, it shows a magnetic anomaly. In the black, an electromagnetic anomaly or conductivity, and in the blue, a gravity anomaly. So what we're looking for is these coincidental anomalies across a very similar or close area. And to do that, we've already started work. We've completed on the right a SkyTem electromagnetic and magnetic survey that completed already in October this year across all of the northern section of our tenements. And below that, you'll see an image of a gravity image there, of the equipment used to do the gravity survey, and that's been conducted as well. That finished also in October. So we have brand new data sets, electromagnetic, magnetic survey, and gravity survey. Next slide, please. Now, in terms of gravity, this is what previous explorers were using back in 2012 and prior. Very old data. You can see it's very coarse, not very useful. If we can go to the next slide, we can look at the image that we generate from our survey. And already you can see on that image, in the very rich, dark red and pink colours, the prominent gravity anomalies or very dense packages of rocks. And these are areas that we are focusing in on now, and we're already starting to do some infill or far more detailed gravity surveys to assist us in targeting our drilling for next year in these areas. Next slide, please. This is our electromagnetic image, channel 40 image, and what it highlights is areas of late conductivity. So again, where these are coincidental with gravity, which is dense rocks, conductive, hopefully sulfides, and magnetics, these are the areas that we want to focus in on. To the west, or up to the top left of the screen, that is a little bit associated with some salt lakes, but more to the east, which is our northeast project area, these are very distinct and very interesting electromagnetic anomalies that we'll be focusing in on. To the next slide, please. Getting back to the gravity image, we've generated 4 areas and they're highlighted in yellow here. And today, actually, the gravity crew was remobilised back to the site, and we're doing infill, very close space gravity surveys on this area. And these will be combined with the EM work and the magnetics to help us focus in for our drilling programs next year. But very exciting, both of these areas. And we think at this stage that each of these areas are likely to be packages of mafic and ultramafic rocks. So next slide, please. Now, this is an image of Matilda South. Now, Matilda South is the area in the southern of our exploration packages, and this is some early modelling work our geophysicist Steve Massey has done. On the right, in the grey, is the 3-dimensional shapes that he's modelled up. He's of the view that these are highly likely to be mafic and ultramafic rock packages. This is supported in the top right-hand corner by some very shallow drilling done by Goldport, air core hole number 4, where they logged in the bottom of the hole sort of mafic pluton or peroxenite granite type material, which is consistent with ultramafics. But we need to properly drill test these anomalies. They're about 135 metres at the top. The drill hole that Goldport did only got down to 31 metres, so it didn't ever test the anomaly. So we're working up this anomaly now. The detailed gravity is starting there today, and then that'll give us a much better definition for future drilling. So next slide, please. So this slide just shows what we've done. Completed on the left has been these tenement scale wide geophysical surveys. In the centre, we're proceeding with very detailed surveys on the 4 target areas: gravity, magnetics, and ground EM, and that'll set us up beautifully for next year. Next slide, please. But we're already starting drill testing as well. Drilling is starting this weekend. We've worked up about 4 targets from historical data, and the first 2 targets will be tested between now and the middle of January. Next slide. So the first 2 targets I talk about is Jumbuck. Now, Jumbucks are very interesting, and we would hope it sits over ultramafic or mafic rocks. It's a nickel anomaly. It was drilled back in 2011 as part of a gold exploration program, and this was before the Nova deposit was discovered and before it was recognised the potential for the Albany Fraser to host wonderful world-class nickel deposits. 2 metres at the bottom of a very shallow hole at 0.5% nickel, quite significant. Now, we've got 15 holes planned for Jumbuck, up to 150 metres deep. So this will be the first time the underlying rock has been tested at this site, and we're extremely excited about the results from this program, and they'll be coming out in February. Kokoda, a gold prospect, very similar, worked up from historic data at the centre of a very large gold anomaly that was previously decided but never drilled at depth. Next slide, please. Next year, we'll be moving on to some other historical targets. Terra Firma, a 1995 drill intersection, 4 metres at 1 gram a tonne. In 1995, the gold price was $300 odd an ounce. It's now $1,800 US an ounce, $2,500 Australian. Very exciting target as well, as is Mulga. But Matilda South is the target that we'll be getting into in 2022 as well. And as soon as we work up those drill targets, we'll announce those. Next slide. So very strong news flow between now and April. Very exciting for our shareholders, and certainly going well into 2022. So next slide. There's a team. We're a very small team. A lot of us were part of Placidome's exploration group before it was taken over by Barrick. Tim Moronsky is our technical director. Mike Northcott's in the field now, and Steve Massey. So we're all about exploring, which is what our shareholders expect us to do. Very quick decision making, very nimble, and we just get on with the job. So next slide, please. So very exciting part of the world to be exploring in, very much underdone. So we'd love people to join us in the search, be part of the discovery, and if you don't already, just take a shareholding in Dundas Minerals and come along for the journey. Okay, so thanks very much, Tim.
Thanks, Shane. Can you go back a little bit? You only listed last month. Can you talk us through how you pick up this land, and what did you raise in terms of cash for this exploration program?
Yeah, thanks, Tim. Look, it's the actual how we ended up in this area is a story unto itself. But really, Tim Moronsky, our technical director, put the package together. He was directed there by a family friend, a gentleman by the name of Paul Askins, a pretty well-known geologist here in Western Australia. Paul was certainly aware that there'd been numerous anomalies over the years in the area that we picked up, but never been followed up. Western Australia, as you may know, has a magnificent public database of exploration information. We mined that, and that's how we secured the tenements, and they're all 100% held by Dundas. In terms of the capital raising, we were very fortunate pre-IPO to secure about $1.4 million in seed capital. That enabled us to effectively have a running start in terms of our exploration activity when we hit the IPO. We raised an additional $6 million at IPO, but as we came to market, we'd already completed our SkyTem survey, we'd already completed our gravity survey, and we were well on the way to populating our exciting pipeline of exploration opportunities at Dundas, Tim. Yeah.
So roughly $7 million in cash at the moment, or 6 or 7 or something?
No, well, as I said, we're getting on with it, Tim. So our pre-IPO money was deployed to paying for our geophysical surveys, and the money has been deployed to getting the drilling underway. Of course, doing an IPO and raising that first lick of capital, there's a cost to that. So that the treasury at the moment, or the bank balance at the moment, is around 5.3 million, and that will be spent, in the next 2 to 3 years on exploration. Yep.
We've got a question from one of our analysts online here. He asked, triple high anomalies should be easy to spot with new data. Is there another criteria to decide which of the 4 areas should be prioritised, or do you test?
We will test, and one of the methods that's been very successful is ground-based electromagnetic surveys. So that may be applicable, but at the end of the day, it's all about putting the drill holes in. So we'll define the areas. We'll get the most detailed close space gravity, magnetics, and electromagnetics data we can, and then at the end of the day, it's going to be about drilling. But if you go back and look at the Julimar discovery, the Julimar deposit was discovered on the very first drill hole, which the geophysicists modelled up from the data, and that was a discovery hole. So the advances in geophysics, you go back to 2010, 11, sort of that era around when Nova discovered, then you move forward to now. The advances in both geophysics, but also in computing processing power, have just been phenomenal. And that's what's allowing this next generation of discoveries, below the regolith, below the sand, where people could not look before. And that's what's so exciting about the opportunity, the 1,200 square kilometres that we've secured, Tim.